the new standard in performance and safety. At $35,490 fully equipped and 7-year warranty, the all-new MG HS is value you've never seen before.
Ben Madgen, welcome to Gibbo Goes One. Mate, how are you? First of all, congrats on the retirement, on the career. Has it all set in yet that you won't be running around putting your body through hell for the next however many years?
Yeah, it's a bit mixed emotions. I mean, it wasn't about me so much, so I haven't had any regrets. Been pretty flat out with Xavier, getting into all his therapies, and full-time dad now with Mac and Xavier. So it is the hardest job I've ever had in my life. Basketball is a piece of cake compared to this. So hats off to all the parents out there. But no, it's been enjoyable, being able to use the weekends with the family and during the week help out more. And I'm enjoying it a lot.
Obviously, it's only early days, but what's been the hardest part? Is it, not knowing that you're not going to be able to get out there and run around, and part of being with teams is you're hanging with your mates and playing games and stuff. Is that the hardest part, you think? Obviously it hasn't probably set in yet, but moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I really miss all the banter, waking up and going to hang out with 15 of your mates, for the day is pretty awesome. Now sometimes I only talk to a 3.5 and a 1.5-year-old for a week. So besides my wife when she gets back from work. So yeah, I definitely miss being around the boys and all the wonderful relationships you have along the way. But also starting a new routine, so I used to be so stringent with diet and exercise and everything like that. Now, I guess at 12 o'clock I haven't had breakfast, and so it's a completely different world for me. So I'm trying to embrace it the best I can, but I definitely miss the banter and the boys, and getting into practice and the weight room and things like that, where everything's kind of set out for you. And now, you're kind of on your own, but it's exciting new challenges.
You're in Sydney now. Is that where you'll call home? And if Sydney happened to pop up and be like, hey Madge, I would love to sign you for a year, is that something that might come into play, or you kind of content with being done and just looking after the family now?
Yeah, no, there was definitely some options there to be able to play for both Illawarra and Sydney and some other teams. But ultimately it wasn't about basketball, about opportunities, because with my situation with Xavier, that made it easy to, not easy because, my agent kept ringing and saying, would you like to do this and that? And I said, look, I really can't. And when I finally called it, that was probably a bit of a relief, not umming and ahhing about should I or shouldn't I. And once I did, of course, I still love playing basketball and all the things that come along with that. But I haven't really looked back or haven't really had a chance to. So I've been pretty flat out.
Your wife, Bria, obviously like all mums and wives, has obviously been a complete soldier and a rock for a pro athlete, traveling all around the world, looking after two boys, obviously with, Xavier and now Mac. She obviously must have been a massive part of the success you've had and moving forward as well.
Yeah, she's been incredible. I owe a lot to, my career to her, but also just helping me become the person I am today. I think when I first told her about my dreams to go to Europe, she was picturing like the beach in Barcelona and the Amalfi Coast in Italy. But, playing in Europe's a lot different to going on a holiday there. So, it was extremely challenging for her. She gave birth twice, and all the unknowns of playing in Europe, where you're going to be year in, year out. After my first year in Belgium, I really wanted to play Euro Cup or Euro League, and the time kept going on in free agency, and I had knocked back a few offers that weren't in Euro Cup or Euro League, and Sydney came with a really good offer when they had the new ownership group with Gazy and Jeff Van Groningen there, and we had a lot of chats, and I was really close to coming back home. And Bria, being 7 months pregnant at the time, she said, "Don't be silly. You know, you came over here to reach your goals, and you know, don't even think about going home now. It's all gonna work out for you." And so we went from Airbnb to Airbnb. We'd only get 1 week at a time. We were in Antwerp, Belgium at the time, and I was completely stressed, and she just held it totally together. And then I signed with Liat Kablis in Lithuania Euro Cup team, and I guess the rest is history. I was able to accomplish everything I wanted to in Europe, and without her, I probably would have signed straight away back with Sydney. So little things like that, or not little, but huge things like that have really helped me with my career. And now she's doing fantastic with her career. She worked remotely for 5 years, really, because Melbourne as well was still away from Sydney. And she was able to do really well. And now it's also time for me to give back to her career. So I just try and, you know, look after the boys and the household and do all those things. And she can be able to work and focus on that because, you know, she did put in a lot of hard yards for me, and I owe her dearly.
I'm assuming, and probably one of the hardest things you've ever had to go through is finding out that, you know, Xavier's been diagnosed with autism. That must have been, you know, crushing for you guys as a family and whatnot. How's that whole process been, I guess? Like, being around him this last year, he's one of the funniest little guys. Like, he definitely gets his aggression from his dad, but just an awesome little dude to be around. Like, loves playing sport and kicking footies and shooting hoops and whatever. Like, how's that kind of whole process been?
Yeah, so when we were in Europe, my wife kind of picked something up pretty early, especially when I went on the road. And I would come home and he'd be happy to see me, and I thought she was kind of overplaying it a little bit. And I regret that now in hindsight. But as you know, we moved to Melbourne, and I got to spend a lot more time with him, not being on the road so much in Europe. We started the process of getting him assessed, you know, by psychologists and everything. And yeah, he was diagnosed with autism, which was a big change, but it was also a big, not relief, but it was good to know what was actually going on, what was the issues. And then, you know, that was the first step in a long process to be able to give him the best chance at life and being able to go to a mainstream school and everything like that. So, yeah, we've been just putting in a lot of work. Bria does a lot of research as well, and seeing a lot of different people and therapists about, you know, what will be best for him. We changed his whole diet. We put him on a lot of supplements, even some antibiotics and different things to try and be able to help him. Because he's also been diagnosed with PANDAS, which is a pediatric autoimmune neuropsychotic disorder, and it's associated with strep. So a lot of kids get strep throat, and some kids get a really bad infection, and then they get inflammation on their brain and things like that. So he's been diagnosed with that as well. So yeah, we've just been on a long journey, but now it is good to be able to get a lot more support, because when you don't know what it is, whether it's autism or PANDAS or whatever diagnosis he has, it's hard to get the support. But now, you know, we've been able to talk to a lot of people, and that was one of the reasons I did the farewell post, was to let everyone know, you know, that we're there for them as well. And I've had some old teammates reach out to me, some opposition wives of opposition players have reached out to Bria and started that conversation. So that's been really positive, and Zave's doing really well with all his therapies, and you know, he's taken to it really well. So yeah, like I said, the formative years are the most important. So it's 3.5 now. So if we can really get on top of it and give him the best help and the best chance at life before he's 5, before he starts through school, that's hopefully give him the best shot.
Yeah, I noticed on your post you were reaching out if anyone needed any help or advice to reach out and chat to you guys. Like, it seems like obviously everyone's going through the same thing, kind of band together. Obviously Joe Ingles is young son Jacob has the same kind of issues. If they kind of reached out, have you been able to talk to them or seen kind of how they've gone about their stuff with Jacob?
Yeah, I've been following his journey, and I haven't reached out about Jacob and Xavier yet, but I'll definitely have a conversation with him down the line. And the autism spectrum's so wide now, so some kids are completely different to others in their situations. Like Zay's very social, great at sport and stuff like you've seen, but struggles in other areas. So emotional regulation and separation anxiety and things like that. So, I think, although everyone's situation's different, like you said, everyone bands together, and there's a lot of support groups out there. And I think the research and the conversations about autism is becoming more prevalent, and that then there's more children that are having this diagnosis where, and it really helps for families to be able to just talk to someone and also be heard, because for our journey, for about 18 months, we just got told, oh, he's fine. Yeah. Because he was really social, and people would say, there's nothing wrong with him. And, we don't care about any labels or anything like that. It's more just about getting him the help that he needs. And to be able to, now do that and be on that path is good for us.
You obviously grew up in quite a sporty family. I don't know what your mum and dad ate growing up, but to produce obviously yourself, professional basketball all across the world. Your sister Tess, who Opals, WNBL star, and Jack as well, who now plays for Collingwood, used to play basketball. Like, that must have been a pretty competitive household growing up in the backyard. I remember playing against, in my first preseason here, the Opals would come down and would play like scrimmage games against them. So the girls would be on one court, and Tess was probably more fiery than you on court, throwing elbows and bumping and stuff. That must have been some unbelievable battles in the backyard.
Yeah, well, my eldest sister too, she's a psychologist, but she was pretty handy at sport as well. She played softball and netball, but she never gets to run, so I have to put her in there too. But yeah, we used to play a lot of 2-on-1, Jack and Tess versus me, and yeah, it usually ended up in a few fights, either Jack and Tess fighting because they lost, or they're both trying to beat me up. But yeah, it was very competitive growing up, but I think it really built a bond that we have now, that we talk about anything, and especially about the challenges of sport, with Jack in the AFL, in 1 week, out the next, and he has to show a lot of resilience to keep going in that kind of scenario. And then Tessie, she did her ACL over in Poland, and then to be able to get back and get into the World Cup team in the Opals. And sport and life has a lot of challenges, and I think growing up together, being super competitive and having that sport as the common kind of goal with all of us has really built our relationship into something that we can be really proud of now as a family. We're very close knit, and we're always staying in contact.
Obviously, growing up in Adelaide, the Adelaide Crows, I think, are your favourite team. But you all three, I don't know your older sister at all, but the three others, you all seem to have that aggressive side. Is that from the football side of things? Like, growing up, like I've seen you kick a footy. I know you're pretty handy on a footy field, but was that just growing up around footy with Adelaide and the Crows and whatnot, and watching games and stuff? Obviously, Jack now plays, but is that where you think that aggressive side comes? Because I know when I growing up playing football, that's where I use my hip and shoulders and that side of things.
I copped a few of those. Yeah. Well, my dad was really good at footy, but he blew both his knees out, I think, at about 22. But his nickname was Mad, because Madgen, but they just used to abbreviate it to Mag, because apparently he was nuts on the footy field. Mark can tell me a few stories. So, but yeah, I mean, growing up, if we got hurt on basketball or footy, we'd just hear Dad yelling from the sideline, "Don't cry, don't cry," just screaming that, his foghorn voice. And we just grew up being, I think, brought up as that kind of hard-nosed kind of player. And from a very young age, that's all I remember was you're not allowed to cry and go in. Dad always used to say, go in hard and you won't get hurt. So we always used to go in head first. And I see that with Xavier now, which is a bit concerning. No regard for his own safety. So, it probably led to a few more injuries, I think. But I definitely think that aggression on the court or the field for all of us has helped us in our sporting lives, but also got us into a bit of trouble, throwing chairs and different things.
I forgot about that throwing chair. I didn't have that to bring up, but I might bring that up later. That was an impressive throw. Do you have a favourite sibling? I know you're going to give me a generic answer here, but do you have a favourite sibling?
I can't choose, but I love them all dearly. But Carly never gets a run, and she gets pretty disappointed. So I'm going to have to go Carls.
I love that. Now I know a lot of stuff. Obviously, you do what you do on the court, but a big focus has been, making an impact, I guess, off the court. You started Madge's Message of Hope, I think, in Sydney. What was all that?
Yeah.
And I know you guys, I think you've done some Indigenous work, going to remote areas. I know Jack's been with you on some trips and stuff. Talk me through that, the Madge's Message of Hope.
Yeah, so, first, before I get into it, that's probably the thing that I'm going to miss the most when I was just thinking about it the other day is the instant kind of impact you can have on kids and the youth in society is, as a basketball player or an athlete, kids look up to your role model and you have such a unique experience and opportunity to be able to impact children's lives positively. So I think that's going to be probably the hardest thing that I'm going to struggle with, not playing and not being a professional athlete. But Madgen's Message of Hope came about. It was actually over Christmas time. I was playing for Sydney Kings. We do a lot of hospital visits. And there was a lot of children there that, were stuck in the hospital over Christmas. And we obviously play through that period. Talking to their parents, a lot of parents of sick children, struggle for money, or their siblings, get kind of left behind because all the focus is on the sick child. And I thought, how can I give back or make an initiative to help these families, have a really good night or day? So I went to the Kings with an idea of getting the sick children and their whole family to a game, completely free from parking, transport, the tickets, and then after the game, making it a really special experience by me and maybe another player coming up, just chatting to the children about the game. A lot of them had never come to a basketball game, and signing some merchandise and just making it really special for them. So the Kings are really good, and we got 20 or 40 tickets altogether for Children's Hospital at Westmead and Randwick Children's Hospital. And the response was amazing. Even the doctors were saying that kids were saying, I've got to get out of hospital by Friday to go watch the Kings. And they're like, they've been bedridden for 3 weeks. And then all of a sudden, they'd kind of get the energy and have something to really look forward to, and it would build them up for that week, and they'd be able to come to the game. And sometimes we'd lose and you'd go up there feeling pretty crappy, and then you'd talk to the kids and you'd automatically forget about the game. So for me, it was really rewarding. I had one kid, I still have it to me to this day. I think it was 2013. He gave me his little good luck charm that he got through ICU with, and I was like, oh my God. So little things like that. I mean, I still kiss that before every game. So it's pretty special, the little things you pick up over the years and the friendships, and just to see those kids have a great time, and their whole families as well, the other kids in the family and the mum and dad. So that was something that came about kind of randomly, but I'm really happy that, the Kings were really supportive with it as well, and it was able to take off.
That's amazing. I mean, obviously that would have impacted their whole life, being stuck in hospital and being able to come out and experience a game, and that whole day would have changed their whole world, I would imagine. So that's I mean, I didn't know that you'd done that, but that's amazing. Obviously, you've been at college. You came back, signed with the Kings. Did you ever want to play, or with the 36ers? I know it's your hometown. I think in 2014 you came to our grand final series against Perth, and it was game 2. And just being, I watched your video before, but being in the crowd or just being in that game, hearing the noise of that venue was amazing. Like, to play in front of that Adelaide crowd was pretty special. Is that something that you wish you could have done over your career, to play in Adelaide?
Yeah, it's a weird one because I was a development player there with Phil Smythe, was the coach. And yeah, I really enjoyed my time there. But Adelaide had kind of been notorious for letting some players slip through, some local talent. So, I mean, we all know the Joe Ingles debacle with the name spelt wrong, but Newells and a lot of good South Australian players that never ended up playing for the 36ers, but would have all probably liked to. So for me, now towards the end of my career, I really wanted to go to a place where I could set up for after basketball.
Yeah.
And I see that in Sydney, or that was why one of the reasons we chose Melbourne as well. My family's still there, and I would have loved to have played in front of them. But they got to come watch me play there when we were on the road, or they'd come over to Sydney or Melbourne quite a bit. But yeah, it definitely would have been nice to play for Adelaide. And but Sydney gave me a shot, and Adelaide had every opportunity to sign me. And I probably would have gone, to be honest, straight out of college. But Sydney gave me my first shot, and I never looked back. Once I got to Sydney, I didn't really want to leave, besides Europe, and then obviously with South East Melbourne.
You're in Sydney for 5 years. You did a fair bit of damage. You're a Rookie of the Year your first year in 2011. 2013 was a hell of a year. You were the most improved. You were All-NBL first team, the leading scorer of the league, and part of the 25th anniversary team. Like, that was obviously a pretty special year, and to kind of achieve all that in 5 years is pretty special, I guess, time in Sydney. Yeah,
I love my time with Sydney. It was really a special time because my rookie year was the first year back for the club. So it was totally new structure. It was almost like this year with us, building it back up from the ground up. So it was really special time, and there were so many people there that I still talk to and have great friendships with. So yeah, I wouldn't take that time back for Sydney for anything. It was great. I also met my wife Bria in Sydney, and now call Sydney home. So yeah, it was kind of meant to be, I think.
You played in Belgium, Lithuania, Germany. They're the three. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite out of all those, or Sydney, Melbourne, like that you've preferred and just love playing?
Well, Lithuania for basketball was incredible. It's a religion there. They don't really play any other sports, just basketball. And yeah, the competition's incredible. You got flares going off. When I played for Ritas, the Ritas Sagres rivalry was, one of the best in Europe. It's incredible, and the living there is a lot harder than other places. So my wife definitely wouldn't say that was her favourite. Belgium, the people were incredible. I remember, we still have lots of lifelong friends there. The community just got around the team and us as a family so well. So yeah, Belgium was probably the best place to live, and then Lithuania for the basketball was incredible.
Obviously, when you go to a new team or start a new season, you get tested. You have to pass medicals. The European, I've seen you on a treadmill with masks and all kind of stuff connected to you. I've seen, our Phoenix testings where you're doing 48 calf raises on like your big toe and stuff. Like, is it harder to complete a medical in Europe? It seems like it's a lot more advanced with all the, the masks and the testing, all that stuff. Yeah. But is one harder than the other?
Yeah, well, Europe was weird because they don't really tell you anything. Like, they just hook you up and they say, okay, run on the treadmill. So, and then about every maybe minute or 2 minutes gets progressively faster. So I'm like, they must just, you get a sweat up a little bit, make sure your heart's going all right, beating all right. no joke, this went for like 30-something minutes, and I was dying. Like, I'm in full sprint, just sweating. I got all these scenes coming off me, and I'm trying to breathe through this mask. Like, how much longer? And she's like, just keep going. Just keep going. They pretty much just keep you going till you collapse. So eventually I just jumped off, put both feet on the side, and I'm like, I'm done. She's like, oh, very good, very good. I'm like, I passed? Yeah, passed. So, but yeah, going on the calf raises, you'd be pretty dirty about that when your mind was sore for about 3 weeks.
The very first day I got to Melbourne, I'm going to do this medical, and Av and Wiggy had me doing like, all right, do a plank. I'm like, well, how long for? Like, we'll tell you. I'm like, that doesn't help me. Like, literally the calf raises, the lunges, the holds, like all this stuff. It was like, I was literally sore for 2 weeks. I was a competitive nature. I was just intrigued with the difference, because it just looks like there's so much going on in Europe with all the masks and everything connected to your body. But
no, it's definitely weird, because they don't talk you through anything there. It's just pretty much just do what you're told and hope for the best.
Your time in Sydney, you were coached by NBL Australian legend basketballer Shane Hill. I got to spend one Australian campaign where he was our assistant coach, and just an unbelievable person to have on your bench as a guard. He worked a lot with us guys, but just picking up stuff and helping you with workouts and moves and reading the game. Talk me through your time with Hammer. I know he's worked you out in off seasons when you've been back, and his workouts are next level, like really good. Talk me through your time with Hammer.
Yeah, Hammer was a huge influence on my basketball career. I don't know if like everyone succeeds to their potential under him, because he really likes you to work hard, and that's what I really like to do. I like a tough coach who really challenges me, and his workouts are awesome. They're tough. They push you both physically and mentally. But my game, that was 2013. The year you talked about, when I led the league in scoring and made NBL first team, was under Hammer, and we worked every day, just extremely hard. And he has a great mentality of helping everyone on the team improve. And that's what I really loved. He really put the time in. We'd do individuals, but he'd also break down the games and break down, how you're feeling during the game. I remember in Cairns, I reckon I was about 2 or 12 or something from the field. And he pulled me aside and he said, you're going to make your next 2 shots and you're going to win us a game. And there was like a minute left, and I was like, fuck. Because by this stage, you're feeling like, I don't really even want to shoot anymore. And I made my next 2 shots, and we ended up winning by a point. And just little things like that, like instilling confidence in you, is incredible. But also, he broke down a lot of film with me, helped me improve, setting my man up off screens, coming off ball screens. He also challenged me defensively. So, man, my game went to the next level, and I wouldn't have made it, I don't think, in Europe without him. Even in Europe, I'd call him with challenges, and he would help me, talk through them. In Regis, I had a really tough coach, and Shane just gave me some great advice, about just focus on being a great teammate, and let the other stuff take care of itself. And that really just helped me, focus on something besides, your performance or whatever, something easy and intangible. And that really helped me get back on track and finish the season strong. So, I owe a lot to Shane, and I loved his system. He loved guard play, which was awesome. So it really suited me. And we're still friends to this day, catch up for a beer here or there and watch some footy. So, he's a good man.
He certainly loves guards, and that's awesome for us, because he wants us to shoot every shot. And hey, if you do this, and he's always on the big set screens and just pick and roll and whatever. But you can just listen to him on commentary, like his knowledge of the game and understanding and what would work is, that's obviously why he's one of our best ever guards to play for our country. But
and I also used to love when you got a mismatch, because a lot of coaches want you to go the big in the post. And he's like, "No, guard, you shoot it, break the man down, shoot it, and the big will get the rebound if you miss." I thought, this is perfect.
Unreal. Now, obviously, you finished your career back in Melbourne with the Phoenix. Like, for me, that's for a startup club. It's probably one of the most professional I've played for. Just coming in from day one and having everything given to us. You know, Angelo with the food and the whole setup and just everything around it. It was, for me, it was super impressive for year one.
Yeah. I mean, when I walked in, I remember Rowan Short said, "Look, Benny, we really want to make this feel like it's an established club. You come in and everything's set up." And I thought, oh, that would be pretty hard, you know, for a first year club. But it really did. You know, we had, like you said, Angelo, chef, and the coaching, the facilities, everything was just right on point. And you know, I think we started the season really well, and probably a few injuries and some, you know, like some chemistry things that you build up over time, a couple of years together would have really helped us finish the season strong. But I think it was still a really big success with, you know, the support base and everything else going on at the club, in the community. I think it's a fantastic stepping stone, and I know you guys will do really well this year. You know, it's going to be a tough competition. You know, you look at all the teams across the league, but you know, another year together. You got the core together there now, and it's a good new recruit. So I'll be watching closely.
I just think that, like, from the start, you know, Tommy Greer, obviously a past player, knows, as a GM, knows what kind of you need as a player and to run a team and all that stuff. And just the people that had around, obviously Eric was, you know, first class at his job and just filters all the way down to this. I'm assuming that every club has, you know, great people like Brock and Av and Wiggy and whatnot, but just that group of people just felt like they all kind of blended well together.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was so professional. Like, anything you needed was never too much of an ask, or, you know, some family issues here or there for me. And go sort your family out first, and then, you know, come back to the next day or whatever it was. So no, it was really, really good. And that's why I think the foundations are set. And like you said about Tommy's a great guy off the court as well. And you know, I've had GMs in Europe, and you don't realise how good a GM until you go to Europe, of how good Tommy is, because, you know, we had GMs coming in at half time, you know, spitting on the walls and kicking trash cans and, you know, ripping off chalkboards and stuff and screaming, "You're not going to get paid this month if you guys don't win," and stuff like that, you know. And then you get Tommy and, "How's the family, mate? You know, everything all right? Need anything?" And, "No, I'm all right." Like, you could play a shocking game. He just keeps it so professional. So, yeah, no, I think Phoenix is in good shape.
I hope you haven't just given Tommy a whole bunch of ideas. Season comes around, we're down by 10 at halftime. He comes in throwing whiteboards and telling us we're not getting paid. I hope he doesn't watch this, to be honest. One of our two videos, Av, we got Wiggy and Av, and Av, he reckons he listens to my podcast, and I challenge him every week, but he always sends me through some questions. So he sent through a couple of questions, and actually proper, really good questions. They're not dickhead questions, but what motivated you in your career or throughout your career to obviously be successful?
Yeah, so I have, like, I guess I was never really the most talented or, you know, naturally gifted player. So I just had this real burning desire to be successful at whatever I did, especially basketball. So I knew from an early age that the only way that I was going to make it to a professional level was to outwork anyone. So for me, I tried to put in the most hours of whichever team I was in. I always wanted to be the hardest worker. So whenever I left, I would say, "Yeah, he worked the hardest." And so, you know, my early years in Sydney, if I would get to the gym, you know, an hour and a half early to shoot before every practice. And if someone beat me there, then the next day I'd get there even earlier. So, you know, I'll be there sometimes 2.5 hours before practice to be able to, you know, work and get a shot to the level it needed to be. And I think as my career went on, probably on the court, dropped off a little bit because I had to be more efficient, but then I tried to pick that up with recovery and doing other things like that. So what motivated me the most was just to be able to get the most out of the talent that I had, and probably try and over exceed, the talent levels that I was blessed with, to be able to have a career where, I played for over a decade. And I think, you see some guys that don't probably work as hard, but they're more naturally gifted, and they can probably get away with it. But for someone like myself, I always felt, if I didn't work out or didn't shoot that day, then I didn't deserve to play well. So my motivation came from, working hard to be able to feel like I deserve success.
I know you've only been back in the NBL for 1 year, you're away for a while, but another one he asked was that the NBL player you respect most and why. And obviously you've been away for a long time, and I'm assuming maybe someone like a Shane Hill or of older days, but
yeah. Well, I think the two people that I respected playing against was Mika Vukona.
Yep.
I respected him a lot. I still do. And Damian Martin, who also just recently retired. We just had some big battles, and but also just getting to know those guys off the court as well. Like fantastic humans, and I get pretty aggressive on the court, and so do those guys at times. But they're also guys that off the court you just it's all forgotten, and everything's kind of jokey, having a good laugh, and I think that's the way it should be. People often see me off the court and they're like, geez, like you're not a bad bloke. Like I thought you were a complete wanker, like you just on the court you're aggressive and white line fever, but off the court nothing really phases me. I'm very chilled, and I like to have a laugh, and I think people that just watch the games are a bit surprised by that.
You have a favourite teammate you played with over years?
Oh, that's a good one.
I know Luke Cooper told me that he could probably drink about 4 coffees by the time he got one conversation out, because you take so long to get one out.
Yeah, he's off my list because he's always giving it to me. But I like Coops. But no, I've played with a lot of great teammates like yourself, and guys like Julian Kazoo, who we only met through Sydney, and he actually thought I was a development player the first year, which I was pretty dirty about for the first couple of weeks. But yeah, then I ended up being in his wedding, so friendships like that along the way, and countless more that. Great teammates, Tommy Garlip, Creaky, guys like that. We only spent a short time together, but guys that you always remember for the friendships and the good laughs. And even Kyle Adnam was a fantastic guy this year. Got along so well, him and Dane. And you get also some imports that I play with, and local guys in Europe that we still catch up with now, and talk all the time. So. Yeah, lots of good
hardest opponent or hardest guy you played against?
I'd probably say Kevin Pangos was really quite a handful for Zagros. I used to he was very aggressive guarding. He used to get in my body, but I was taller than him, so I could still get my jump shot off over him. But offensively, he was a handful, because especially in Yuskavic's system there, the Lithuanian coach for Zagros, and he would just have him on point, and he'd set you up so well for the ball screens, and it was so hard to guard. And I think we saw a glimpse of him, what he can do when he played for Canada against the Boomers here, for people that don't really watch European basketball. But yeah, he was a very good player.
Now I'm pretty sure, like for now, what's next is for you is obviously being a dad and taking care of your boys. Is that, for the near future, but somewhere down the track, obviously a super smart player, like somewhere involved with a club, coaching, maybe you're talking about some stuff. I think you're doing your MBA and that stuff. What's your plan for the future moving forward?
Yeah, so the next few months will just be focused on Xavier and the boys, and then Eventually I want to get into business. So I got my Bachelor of Business Management and my MBA. So I'd love to work in business. I did an internship at QBE with a great mentor, Justin Paps, and I really enjoyed it. They did a culture overhaul there at the time. So I'd really love to get into leadership and culture in the business world, but also not naive to the fact that, you know, I'm 35 and starting a real job for the first time. So, you know, I just want to get my foot in the door and then take it from there. But yeah, the ultimate goal would be in the culture and leadership setting. I think that would be fantastic and something that, you know, I could use all the skills that I've learned through basketball and sport in that business role.
I interviewed Damo yesterday, and him and Mika both talk about rings and relationships. The relationship side, I think, once I'm finished playing, is the contact you have with people, the road trips, all this stuff, and obviously going out and I guess those kind of memories, I think people like us will probably remember the most. Understand that the stanky leg comes out from time to time when you're out and about on a couple of beers. It's your favourite dance move?
Yeah, well, it's my only dance move, so I have to bring it out. Yeah, I'm pretty notorious for bringing that one out after a couple of schooners. So, yeah, hopefully it stays in the bag for a little bit longer. But yeah, next time I have a good night out in the town, that'll be it. But who knows with COVID, it might be for a few years yet.
Now, injuries are not they're obviously, you know, a tough thing to deal with. Now, I'm going to leave the main one till the end, but I've seen you had a broken hand. Like, what other kind of major injuries besides the ankle, which I'll get to, if you kind of hadn't dealt with? Yeah,
well, I broke my hand in Lithuania, and then, but I was pretty lucky because all my injuries, I didn't really miss any games. Besides the hand, everything else, I didn't miss a game for about 8 years because they happened in the off season, like the ankle. But you know, I dislocated my shoulder against you guys. Pete thought he was in a rodeo and rode me to the ground, dislocated my shoulder, and then it got popped back in out the back. And I remember it was in Adelaide. You might remember this as well because I still remember you. There was a ring out there, and the physio popped my shoulder back in, and he was like, "Oh, all right, we'll strap it up and put some ice on." I said, "Oh, no, just give me a basketball, see if I can shoot on this ring." So I shot a couple of shots, and the adrenaline must be pumping so fast through my body that I couldn't really feel it. I'm like, yeah, I can shoot, I'm good. So I went out, told Hammer, I'm good, put me back in. So he put me back in, and you were guarding me, I still remember. So you were like, I would come off screens, and you kept yanking on my arm. So every time I'd run, you'd yank on and then, but I got through the game. I think we won, so I'll bring that up. And, I got to the airport lounge, and the adrenaline wore off, and man, the pain. I needed one of those green whistles like they gave me. But yeah, I didn't end up missing any games, so that was not bad until I dislocated again a couple of years later before I went to Europe in one of the last games of the season. What else? Yeah, just a couple of rolled ankles and pulled calf, but yeah, I was relatively lucky, touch wood.
I'll get to the other one in a sec, but talk me through the whole chair throw off. I had forgotten about that, but what was going through your mind when I think you took a charge or you went for a lap and got knocked over, and then you just happened to see a chair at the cage in Melbourne, and then just happened to just grab it and just toss it to the umpire? Talk me through the mindset of what happened when you threw that chair.
I will admit it looked really bad, but the umpire was not in my intentions of where the chair went. So, first of all, it was really stupid on my behalf. And, you know, I actually wrote a blog about it. But yeah, I let my emotions get the better of me. It was a fiery game. And we were at the cage, and I went for a layup and got fouled or didn't get fouled. Didn't matter. I went flying behind the ring, and there was a chair, like a metal chair, which the camera guy sits on, and I landed on it. And it was a few games after I popped my shoulder out against you guys, so I hurt my shoulder again, and the chair was on top of me. So in a rage, I flung it off, and it happened that as I flung it off, the ref went to pick the ball up and it hit the ref in the leg. And I was like, oh, far out. So I quickly grabbed the chair and put it back, and then apologized to the ref and called him after the game and you know, told him that was not my intention. And he said, yeah, he knew, but, you know, apologize. And it was a bad look because, you know, ultimately there's kids watching, and, you know, if my son did that, I'd be really angry with him. So I told him, you know, I told the ref, you know, I'm really sorry, and it's got to be a better example and a better role model than that. And took the punishment on the chin and tried to improve and never do that kind of thing again.
Now, this is not to make light of injuries, because they are absolutely horrendous. And this is one of the worst injuries I've ever seen or been a part of. And I swear I've never been out to try and end your career. I forgot about pulling your shoulder, but we're in Perth. We're in a Boomers camp. I think we played China game 1. We were at the practice facility shooting, and we're doing the shooting drill where you're in the corner. I close out from the pass from the coach. You shoot the shot. For whatever reason, somehow you land on my foot.
It was the other way around. You were shooting.
Oh, was I shooting?
Yeah, I was on D, because you know how you jump forward.
Right.
Shot, yeah.
So you land on my foot, and your ankle, like, instead of going, like, is out the other way. Like, it was one of the worst, like, most, I'm sorry to bring this up. I hope it doesn't. But like, one of the worst things I've ever seen. And just, like, it was hard to believe the look of just this bone going the complete other way. So you obviously go down in a massive heat, like screaming like crazy. And I just remember Doc at the time was just chilling. Like, he was just slowly walking over, and we yelling like, come on, hurry up. And later he's like, look, you can't make the situation worse. You got to be calm when you approach. And we're like, man. So he gets here, and you're obviously in unbelievable pain, going crazy. And then the green whistle comes out. Talk me through that whole kind of,
yeah, it was horrible. I remember I came down on your foot, and I thought I just really badly rolled it. So it had like a sharp sensation, and I looked down, and the sole of my shoe was facing up, and that was when I was like, ah! So once the green whistle came, life was good. For anyone that's ever had horrific injury and they had to have a green whistle. And so once I had it, I mean, I don't really remember too much more. But the stories that I heard back, I remember, you might be able to recount it better, but I was saying that we got to tell everyone that I kept playing on it, and, you know, that I'm not soft and all this stuff. But yeah, honestly, I was high as a kite at the time.
So Anthony Petrie, one of my good mates, teammates, he was there, and he can remember a story like it was yesterday. So I asked him about what you actually said. So obviously the whistle, now you're all happy. You've gone from screaming your lungs out to like all happy, and you were like, you're like, tell Dre it's all good, just a sprain or jog it off. That was one of the lines. And then the other one was, tell people Madge took it like a MFG, like make sure everyone knows I took it like a gangster kind of thing. Like, you weren't crying, you weren't going off. Hey, just tell them I took it like a G.
Which I totally didn't. So yeah, but I remember waking up, and the doc was there next to me. I was in hospital with a big plaster on my foot. And he said, geez, you did a good job of it. It took him 3 hours to get it back in. So lucky I was out. They just completely put me under, and they said they were like 3 doctors just trying to yank it back in, and eventually it went. But yeah, luckily I never did that again. I remember when I first came back, I strapped and had an ankle brace on for about the next season. Felt like I had one peg leg, but yeah, I was lucky to make a full recovery in a pretty short amount of time.
Went from one of the most horrific things I've ever seen to almost one of the funniest things within like 10 minutes. It was a crazy little stretch of time, but yeah, that was one memory that I had that was pretty funny that afterwards, looking back now. But
yeah,
mate, that's all I had for you. I appreciate you taking time. I know you got your boys to look after, and like I said before, and I've messaged you, but congrats on the career. You said before about wanting to work hard. I can definitely vouch for that, because someone that's in there first, and I always used to look after practice. I'm here iced up and sitting down sore as hell, and you're out there running around shooting another 30 minutes of jump shots, and the Normatex and the recovery and the ice bath and every step you took is obviously why you got the most out of your career and achieved what you have. So massive props, and I think you really set a culture for our club at the Phoenix of what you need to do to be a pro. So, mate, thanks for joining me. All the best with whatever you have next, and we'll be following closely. And yeah, you're always part of our family at the Phoenix for sure.
Yeah, likewise, mate. All the best this year. Thanks for having me on, and talk soon.